What's good, guys? Welcome back to the More Card Man channel, and we're finally here for another episode of Chat with Cardy. Obviously, I want to just address, I do apologize for abandoning last week, kind of out of nowhere. I put a post up, I think it was Wednesday, saying I fucked up with the recording, but we'll be back on Thursday. And truth be told, I fucked up again in the recording. I picked the wrong time to record. My sister had her friends over for karaoke, and basically I just couldn't concentrate for longer than like 20 minutes. I'd keep screwing up, and it'd be like 6 edits in like the first 20 minutes. And I'm just like, well, the first time I originally recorded it was the most flawless, perfect recording I've ever done. Not even just for Chat with Cardy. Like, it was an hour and 10 minutes of just pure, it was just a breeze to record. Like, everything flowed well. All the points I made I thought were good. And then I realized later the next day when I went to chuck it all up to post that I used the wrong microphone. So I wasn't using this one.
Obviously, for a podcast, I didn't go up to them saying, I'd like to get on the podcast.
It just made me look like an even bigger idiot as well. Sometimes when I forget the mic's on, like whether it's a road mic or whatever, and I'm holding it, talking into it, and it's not working. So it was just shit audio. This is what it sounded like. I'm not gonna post that, and unfortunately I just didn't end up posting because I got to like Friday, I screwed up another time and I just couldn't get it working. So apologies for that. I don't want these to be bi-weekly, but it seems like they're currently bi-weekly over the last month. So we'll get back on track, but this should be a good episode, hopefully. Even better than last times that I tried to record that you couldn't listen to. Now, you see the title on the screen. It does mention my thoughts on the new AFL rule changes. They're new, but they're not like brand new because it's sort of been talked about for a bit. They've rolled them out starting probably late October, early November. I can't remember exactly when, but that's what I'll be talking about at the end of this. So as you can see on the screen right now, I have timestamps, and I'm going to leave these up for future episodes. I know, Ryder Henshey really wants me to have things on the screen to look at, and I don't do it enough on these, even though I've got myself. So I'll have these up just so it's better for the viewers. It's better for interaction. People sort of know which part to skip to, what part to maybe grab their attention, or where they want to, sort of skip to in the video if there's a part that they want to listen to it specifically. So I'm going to have these up so that you'll see when I get up to talking about the AFL stuff. If you're only here for that, which you might be, you could be new. Like, I've got no idea with just checking again. Needed to check to see if the audio levels were good, and they are. I've got no idea how many people are watching or listening to this for the first time due to the title. It's not like normally a footy orientated podcast though. It's just me talking about whatever I feel like talking about, whatever topics there are, because it's off season at the moment, and I talk enough footy stuff during the regular season, so it's something a bit different for everyone that's new. And I don't want this to be stale as well, so maybe it's good that I skipped a week, refresh, get back and going, because it can get stale. It feels like it can get stale when it's just myself, and I'm repeating the same crap all the time, especially when it's just me, because I'll eventually run out of things to talk about. Now, let's quickly go through a few dot points from what we've sort of been discussing over the last 5 weeks since I've started Chat with Cardy on gym, sleeping, and eating. So the first episode, I would pretty much said I want to go back to the gym and all that. And I'm really enjoying myself there now, to be honest. The weight is going up, and it's still going up. Last week, I was like 72 kilos, even though I started at 67, 68, and I'm now I'm at 73 now. So freaking eating's going up and performance is going up as well. I'm pretty much almost where I was when I stopped. And I stopped and I didn't go again for 6.5 months, and I'm pretty much back there again. And it looks like it's continuously going quickly. So looking forward, because I think next Wednesday, Wattle Park go back to pre-season training. And even though I haven't really told anyone that I was going to be there for it, I'm going to go because I do want to get a good pre-season in for footy. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm consistently doing all right with the eating. Same with the eating as well. It can be a bit of a drag, especially when I have to cook my own food. I've said this before, I'm not a fan of cooking my own food because it's a big process, especially when I'm still pretty shit at it. But I've gotten better at like certain meals. Like yesterday, I cooked a really nice chicken and rice. The chicken, the seasoning, everything was just, I thought was cooked to perfection, or at least as close to perfection as I'm capable of. So it's pretty good. Another downside about having, cooking and eating food on the dinner table is my dog Mella. She likes to jump on the table whenever she wants. She has no, I don't know why she hasn't been told not to do this, and I don't know how often, if ever, it happens with other people's dogs, but she just jumps on the chair and jumps on the table and acts as though she can just do whatever the fuck she wants. She just lies on the table when we're eating dinner. And I would imagine most people probably wouldn't have let their dogs do that, but she just does it. And she can be really fucking annoying when I'm trying to eat food. She's just constantly there. She's just sitting and staring at you, and you feel bad for not giving her anything. But there are times where it's either something she shouldn't be eating or something that I want to fucking eat myself, and I'm not going to give away my food that I cooked. So there's that. And sleeping this week's gotten good as well. But I've noticed with my routine that it slowly diminishes over the week. At least this last month, in terms of all those three things that I wanted to quickly touch up on. Sleeping as well. End of last week was really bad. I would just literally not care, and I'd be on my phone again for like heaps of hours just watching YouTube, whatever it is. And it never works. It actually makes a lot of sense. It never works when you do stay up till like 3 or 4. You are naturally going to just sleep in really late. And now I'm naturally getting up earlier the last few days, getting home and just sort of winding down, because first 2 days of the week I go to the gym later. I sort of wind down. I say I'm gonna, maybe do a little bit of graphic work or whatever, but I always feel too tired and I just end up falling asleep at like midnight, which to me is pretty early, and it means that I'm normally up at like 8 to 9. So the last couple of days I've been up from like 8 to 9, which is pretty good. So I want to try and keep that consistent, but as I said before, it diminishes over the week, especially over the weekend. I'm just really not disciplined normally over the weekend. I don't know why. It's probably just I give myself an excuse to sleep in, because I see it as the weekend is a time where I can sleep in, but I should see it as any other day, because there's no point in having really good sleep and routine and then fucking up on the weekend. But right now I've had no plans this weekend. Over the last 5 or 6 weeks, maybe 2 days of the weekends, if you exclude the trip to Thailand, I've actually done anything that entertaining with mates or just in general. I've done nothing this off season so far on the weekend, and a lot of those days have just sort of been wasting my time just on my laptop, watching videos and not really being too productive. There are obviously times where I am doing other important stuff on my laptop, like YouTube stuff, but yeah, I kind of want to do more with my weekends. But again, I think it's just because it stems from back when I was a kid. That would be the time where I would get the chance to sleep in, because I've always been naturally a late owl, or night owl is what they call it, especially in high school. Yes, I had to get up early for school, but I'd always get up the latest I possibly could get up without being late, if you know what I mean. Like, I would get ready really quickly. Even in primary school, I live really close to a primary school. I probably live like 5 minutes away from a primary school, walking distance. And sometimes I'd get up at like 8:40 when school would start at 9, and I'd just like rush out of the house. I'd have like an up and go, wouldn't really shower. Probably wouldn't even brush my teeth. I'd just rush out the house and I'd get there on time. I did the same thing during school, so I could literally stay up as late as I could without feeling too shit, getting some sleep. And maybe it's just stemmed from that. I've just been used to that. But I do want to, maybe do something on the weekend. Maybe even start like going for a run. But I'll tell you what, I won't do that unless it's with someone else. So if there's anyone like a Henshi, I know he's been doing a lot of that content. If he's listening to this, which I don't know if he does, I actually wouldn't mind doing that. Not this week though, but maybe in a future week, get some content filmed. But yeah, overall though, the last couple of weeks, update on myself, pretty boring in terms of like stuff I've gotten up to, but I've gotten up to a few things behind the scenes, which is pretty cool. Locked in a brand deal as well, that I'm not sure when I'll be posting about. It was supposed to be this week, but I haven't received what I've supposed to have received in the mail yet, and it's supposed to be like the next day. So it's like I'm gonna have to just let them know that maybe next week or something like that. But that's pretty cool, finally. And even though it's been a pretty boring last 2 weeks, genuinely that's kind of all I've really done. That's that of note. I think this week will be certainly more eventful, which is why I'm bringing back members' weekly vlogs. Because if you remember on the channel, which I support greatly, memberships probably mean double this time around. Because, mate, I've been making significantly less money off YouTube, and it's showing. It is showing big time. So I can't really afford to just slack off like some people are like, oh, well, maybe in the off season you should take a big break. Can't really afford that, can I? Because I got fucking things I still have to pay for. It's not like everything magically goes away with all my expenses when off season comes around. No, they're not like that at all. But as I said before, I should get, start to become really entertaining stuff I get up to. Cruise isn't too far away as well. Christmas time's coming up. I'll talk more about on that. A few people that I'm going to be meeting up with over the holiday period as well, and cricket's coming back, so I'll definitely go to as much cricket as I can. And I want to now turn every weekend into a filming session of some sort, starting this week. Whether it is just something small, like a sit-down video, or something big, like a whole day of filming, or it could be an IRL live stream again. Whatever it might be, I want to get that started now. Now, a few other things as well that happened. Last week on the Tuesday, I had one of the more weirder days that I've ever had, or at least appeared a day. So my dog had a real scare. I thought she was like really badly sick or injured, or something really bad seemed to have happened to her. I was just currently at the time working on a video, minding my own business, and it was only me and my sister at home, and my sister comes into my room like really shaken up, worried, saying that my dog Miela, like something's wrong with her. She could barely move as well. Like, it was, her hind legs were like shaking really badly. She couldn't walk in a straight line. She was nowhere near as energetic and naturally, up and about as she normally is. And it was pretty scary. I didn't really know what to do in those situations. I never really know what to do. I always second guess myself and think that I'm not good enough, or I'm going to make the wrong decision in like a critical moment. But I thought, I guess there's nothing wrong with calling up the vet and seeing what they think. And they're like, well, from what you've said to us, I think it's best to go into the vet to, see what's going on with her, like see what's up. So that was the first time I ever had to do that. And at the time, I was like just about to upload a video. So it was, again, I think of what's more important, possibly saving my dog from, could even be dying, as opposed to uploading a video at a time I wanted to. Obviously, you pick the one that's right. And again, my family weren't in the house. My sister was literally about to go to an exam, so she had like 30 minutes until she had to leave for that. So just imagine if it was only her in the house. That could have been really bad, like a disaster, because there wouldn't have been anyone else to like help her out, and she had to have been at the exam. Now, weirdly enough, right, I got there, I was obviously nervous because, driving to the hospital was like 15, 20 minutes, or the vet, I should say. It was a 15-minute drive, 20-minute drive, and I didn't want to like drive too fast or swerve too suddenly or anything like that, because I did want to make sure my dog was all right. Again, she wasn't making any noises. It was just like weird. I didn't know what was up. I thought maybe she ate something bad, but she didn't eat anything that I was aware of. We went in there still feeling the same way, and then she goes into the vet for a checkup. They check what's wrong with her. 15, 20 minutes later, she comes out like a completely different dog. Like, she hasn't been any more energetic ever. I haven't seen her any more energetic. She was up and about. Maybe I thought it could have been the adrenaline. Was she injected with anything? Apparently not. So overall, I got charged with a bill of $250. Hopefully, I don't end up having to pay that. But she ended up just feeling fine. Like, no issues has happened since that day, and that was a week ago. Now, there was a bit of a precautionary. They said, the vet was like, if she doesn't eat when she goes home, then take children's Panadol. That's what I was told. Nothing. She completely changed in a matter of moments, and I'm still have fucking no idea how that ended up happening. How would she go from feeling really, really bad for like a couple of hours, like physically as well, to feeling more than better after a checkup? It was really just a checkup. That's what they told me. So that was a bit of a scare, but it was a little story there. I guess no one's heard of that story yet. At the moment, what I've been up to a lot this week is working on the big stadiums video. Now, I may have said last week that I was going to have it out in this week, but I knew that was a bit of an ambitious ask, especially when I wasn't really when I do videos, I'm pretty shit with planning how I'm going to edit them, especially when they're a long video. I've noticed it's actually a lot better, instead of editing all in blocks, like in chunks, like Stadium 1, Stadium 2, you do bits of each stadium and you do all of it in one batch. So the scripts, like for example, the intro script, do all 18 intro scripts, do all 18 intro graphics, pick the music you want for all 18 intros. And if you do all of a similar thing in one, you actually get it done a lot quicker. I've still got a lot to do, and quite frankly, today I might not have much time to do any of it because I've got quite a lot on the plate today. But it's been a really enjoyable edit so far, fun video to edit, and I think it's going to be one of my best. I really think it's going to be the best video on the channel. I put hundreds of hours into like traveling, filming, and thousands of dollars into actually paying for it all, because for the most part it was really just me paying for the trips myself and the flights and the accommodation and all of that. So definitely a high risk, high reward sort of situation, especially now that I'm not going to upload in November. I wasn't planning on initially doing that, but you know, what a surprise. I've said I'd do something and it becomes a big delay of a month or two. But when I had the idea early in the season, I didn't know if I was actually going to end up doing it. But then I got to a point halfway through the year when I went to like 7 or 8 stadiums and Darwin and all that it was too late to go back. Like I was too far in. I wasn't just going to give it up after 10 or 11. And it was something that, as far as I'm aware, has never been done before by anyone, like let alone any content creator or any AFL media personality. Like they would have probably said something about them actually achieving that feat if they would have done it. So I think the first to do it, and I think it'll make for a really good video. It'll be like a 40-minute video, so it's going to be longer, but it's going to be like action-packed. Every 3 or 5 seconds will be a cut that won't just be like continuous bits of footage. There'll be lots of music, lots of funny edits, all of that shit. Definitely going to take a while, but I'm trying to batch it so it's going to take quicker than what I probably would have originally thought in terms of editing. And I have been using a little bit of AI for parts of it, like helping with the structure more than anything. Like, for example, ChatGPT. It's actually quite interesting or like helpful when I'm stuck on how I want to structure a part of the video. Like, for example, the Adelaide Oval bit. I put in everything that I filmed, and it helps me sort of organize where I can put what I can put there. If I want to change it, I change it myself, but it just gives me like a rough sort of a template, sort of like a little bit of an inspiration of how to sort of go about it. So that just saves me a lot of time because I can feel stuck, and I can feel stuck on something for a long time and get nothing done. It does it all for me, and it does it pretty quickly. So yeah, I use it for that. But I don't necessarily like the fact that AI is sort of overtaking content creation in some genres. And you scroll on Instagram, TikTok, half the videos you see now are AI. That to me is a worry. That's not something that I'm a fan of, and I think that content is only going to keep getting more popular, and I think more people are going to start abusing it, and I don't like it. I'm not a fan of it, and it's annoying because I have the fucking Saw AI. I didn't even know about I did know about it. So last month I was just scrolling through, and I just something sparked my interest in possibly wanting to purchase it because I knew it would cost a bit of money. I didn't know how much it cost. Of possibly wanting to download Saw AI just for fun to see what you can do. I think it was $30 a month, and even though I knew I probably shouldn't do it because I wanted to save, but I fucking got it anyways just to have a bit of fun. I forgot it was like a monthly subscription, right? So I used it, but I kind of used it in the wrong way because I didn't know that the app that I can't explain it the best, but the app, there were different types of videos you could create. Some only some were video only, some included audio, some included like longer duration, and the more advanced it was, the more it cost. And you can pay for more coins, but you get a certain amount of coins that you use. That's sort of how it worked. I spent like a heap of coins on like a couple of videos that I thought were good. Most of it was just shit because I didn't know how it worked, and I completely forgot about the subscription that I paid for, and I found out about it the other day that I was still subscribed to it, and I spent another $30 on something that I probably won't use, and I'm not a big fan of anyone really using it, to be honest. So I guess in order for it not to be a waste, I've cancelled the subscription, but now I've got like a whole heap of coins that I can maybe use for Saw AI. I don't know what I could use it for maybe something content orientated. I don't know, something that would actually be beneficial, not just shit. So who knows? I'll probably use it because I don't want to waste it. But yeah, it is annoying though when you do pay for these like subscriptions and you just forget to cancel. I've got to like write it down. It happens too often where I thought I cancelled something, or I thought it was just a one-time thing. It's never a one-time thing, and they're so sketchy. They're not going to tell you. So yeah, bit shit. But overall, that Stadiums video will probably give you an EDA of next week, early next week. Hopefully, that's my hopeful sort of time when it'll be released. Maybe a bit later into the week because there's still quite a bit of time that'll need to get put into it, and I won't have heaps of time for the rest of the week to edit it. So I don't know. But I don't really want to do like all-nighters to get it done, because all-nighters just fuck my sleep up and they fuck the next day up, and it does help with getting a lot of stuff done quickly, all-nighters, because over the course of a night, I haven't really got any priorities or commitments. So from like 10 o'clock p.m. to like 6 a.m., I can, if I wanted to, edit for 8 hours straight, or do really anything for 8 hours straight, because during the day, I've got to, make sure I eat meals throughout the day. If there are things I got to do, people's calls I got to take, I've got stuff to do throughout the day as well. So it's not like I can just edit 8 hours throughout the day non-stop from start to finish. A lot of the time, I normally can only do that at night. So that helps with that. And I'm the sort of person with just stuff in general, I need to get into the zone. So it might take a little bit of time to get into the zone, but once I'm into the zone, it's hard to break out. And when someone fucking interrupts me whilst I'm in the zone, that really annoys me, because it takes a lot of time to get back into the zone. And especially if it's like a big interruption, like I've got to do something and it takes an hour, that's like 2 hours wasted, because I've got to spend another 30 minutes getting back into the zone of what I was doing. And when I'm in the zone, I'm the most productive. And it's not difficult to get into the zone, but when I'm out of the zone, when I don't want to be, that pisses me off. So I wonder if anyone else is sort of like that. But yeah, that's why when I'm working or need to get something done quickly and I want to be in the zone, I don't have my phone with me. I like to just put it in the other room, or just turn it off, like turn off calls. Because people call me and it's like, I don't want to be a dick or anything like that. Unless it's like an emergency, I'll answer. But I don't want to be a dick and answer it and then break out of that zone for 10, 15 minutes, because normally the calls take a lot longer when I'm in the zone, as opposed to just in general. So yeah, I don't really have my phone on me during the day when I want to get stuff done. I try to put it away. And that's just the same even with like going to bed. I think it's better to have the phone maybe even in another room, but just not in your bed, because you're more tempted to just stay on it. So today is also draft day. I say today, later today, but still today. And straight after this recording, I'm going to put all my attention to that for a bit, because I won't lie, I'm not ready to stream the draft yet. And I'm not just talking, I haven't set up the stream with graphics and the thumbnail, because that's also true. I haven't. But I don't know enough about the draftees. Not nearly enough to be able to justify streaming the draft. Like, old me probably would have still done it, even without knowing shit. And I think I actually did stream the draft one year, only knowing like 6 of the possible draftees, which at the moment, I do know names, but that's about all I know. I don't know where they're from, who they play like, positions or anything like that, or who they're linked to. And if I wanted to, I could, but I just do feel like it's difficult for me to stay invested when I have a bit of a footy burnout. And I know it sounds weird, because it's like footy, that's all I do really, but a bit of a footy burnout. And when it comes to the draft, it's like it's a whole new wave of players that you've got to learn about and all that. And when St Kilda particularly are not really going to be involved, especially not in the first round, it is a lot harder for me to stay focused and pay attention with it all. So whilst a lot of draft channels right now are thriving, really, really getting good numbers and pretty much using it as a Christmas for themselves, kind of like what Mariah Carey is in December, I haven't really been following along with much of the content, and I kind of need to if I'm going to want to do the draft, because I'm not going to tell anyone or sort of portray myself as an expert, because I never have been an expert with a draft. But the people that would tune into the stream would be regulars normally of my channel, or maybe new viewers that still find value out of the stream. So that's why my streams for the draft, even though I don't think they should do well, they still do really well, because the draft is still pretty important. A lot of people are still interested in the draft, but I don't want to do a stream when I can't even answer very simple questions. The basic and more advanced questions, go on a Pommy Nod stream. He'll be streaming it most likely, and it'll be very good. But I want to do it as well, and I want to do it my own way. But I've got to at least know a little bit of a basis of it, and I don't know enough yet to justify streaming. And the draft is like in 7 hours, so it's gonna kind of like be the equivalent of cramming information last minute, like if I was studying for an exam. So yeah, last year's stream for the draft did really well. I actually did both days, and even though day 2 is more irrelevant, if day 1 does well, I might do day 2 as well, but I'd have to set up for day 2 also. So that'll take a while, but kind got to get that done. I've got quite a bit on the plate as well today, actually, because unfortunately, this is private news that I'm not going to tell you everything. I'm not going to go through the medical sheets, but my grandma, as of late, has fallen ill. She's in the hospital, and apparently she's got bad dementia, and that's obviously something that happens with old age, and she's just starting to forget things and, not feeling her normal self. So later this afternoon, I'm going to have to go over there to the hospital and help her out with a few things and pick her up and maybe not even herself up. She might not be ready to be left to leave from the hospital. I don't know. Hopefully it's not too bad. Hopefully it doesn't get worse, but there's a good chance she might have cancer. So yeah, not great. And I'll probably be there when this is being premiered, because I'm going to premiere this at 5:00. So again, unless an emergency happens and I have to stay there for longer, I should be fine to stream the draft. But it's sort of just been a bit of personal stuff that's happened as of late. And that's not great. And it also, apparently my parents have, so my mum has helped out this week with all that shit. My grandpa's been very incompetent and very unhelpful with the whole situation. Apparently abusing the staff members there that are trying to help out. And he's not doing it in a way to mean bad. He's meaning well, but he's just not able to tell the nurses what he really wants to say, and the way he's portraying himself sounds and seems pretty rude. So hopefully he doesn't do any of that shit when I'm there, but if he does, and it's sort of funny, my dad reckons it's really embarrassing, and it probably is. Maybe we'll follow up with this next week, but at the moment, yeah, they're not even driving anyway either as well. So I've got to drop them off, pick them up. People have to help out with that. Probably a good thing my grandpa can't drive, because, to be honest with you, and a couple of people might know this, but back a few years ago when I stayed at UCAT and Ryder stayed at my grandparents. Really weird how that ended up happening. My parents, when I was 19, didn't trust me to stay home alone. But anyways, that's besides the point. The year after, they realized that that's just dumb because I'm 19. But anyways, I couldn't stay home alone overnight. I could during the day, but for a few days, I wasn't trusted because they were on holiday. So I stayed with my grandparents, and my grandpa was driving, I think, Ryder, and he went past 3 red lights, and I'm like, what the fuck, mate? That's really... I don't know if he did that on purpose or if it was just old age sort of getting to him, but that's really dangerous, and I was a little bit worried. So, I won't be doing that tonight, that's for sure. And it also means Christmas this year is going to be really different to pretty much any other Christmas I've had, because currently, this family that we have are pretty small. One of the smallest families, you would think. It is my immediate family, so that's 5 of us. Then it'd be my grandma, grandpa, then uncle's partner, their 2 kids, and then sometimes other people would be there. I got another cousin, and that's it. So it's normally at a max of 12 or 13, and it sometimes is less, sometimes is more. I guess it depends on other family members from other countries if they're there to visit, because Australia is quite a multicultural country, and quite a few countries now are all involved in the whole family tree. So my dad's side, my grandpa is German, but all of the German cousins are from Germany and they live in Germany, so none of them are going to be there for Christmas. My mum's Mexican, you probably know that. She has a massive family in Mexico, but most of them are all in Mexico. None of them are really in Australia. And the wife of but the partner of my uncle is from Canada. So they have all these Canadian relatives and shit like that. Now, all 3 different countries, but it all means that the family tree in Australia isn't as large as it could be. So the gatherings are not massive. And that sort of isn't great. I'd like to have I do feel a little bit envious of seeing photos of people on Christmas with their big families celebrating, because there can be times where it's less than 10. And it can sort of feel a bit shitty, a bit boring. It doesn't feel as cool or as special, personally. But because this year my uncle and those his partner and 2 kids, why was I struggling with that so much? They'll be in Canada for Christmas. So originally we were going to have a Christmas earlier before they left, but because of what's happening with my grandparents, that won't happen now. So Christmas is now just going to be the immediate family, and that's just going to be so fucking weird. That's going to almost feel like any other day. It will literally not feel like Christmas unless on the day we still have a Christmas lunch and sing Christmas carols or whatever the fuck people do. But it's going to feel really weird. It's going to not feel as special, and it's going to feel boring. It's going to feel a bit insignificant, I guess. Like, I get a couple of presents, okay, whatever. Yeah, lovely, but it's really going to feel like any other day. And you can't really do much on Christmas Day because realistically, everyone on Christmas Day is doing something. They're going to be with family. No one's really working unless they don't celebrate Christmas. But nothing's open on Christmas either. I mean, if it's a nice day, you could go to the beach, but we have a pool. And I won't lie, the beach is very overrated in my opinion. And if I want to cool off, I'll just use the pool. So I don't know how Christmas is going to be. We probably will have a Christmas when they come back in early Jan, but hopefully my grandma feels better by then. I don't know, but we'll see, I guess. Yeah, we'll find out. Now, another thing that's been driving me mad a little is my sister. Now, thankfully, she's at fucking work right now, so I can actually record this. But if she wasn't at work and she was anywhere upstairs, she would probably tell me to stop, and she would go into my room. She's been really weird as of late, acting up, getting annoyed over the littlest things. And look, I truthfully don't know exactly what's up. She seems quite stressed out. She might have anxiety. I don't know what it is. But I don't know why she takes it out on me when I haven't really done anything, to be honest. Last night I streamed and, I wasn't really, I don't think I was too loud. Like, I understand when I'm streaming at like 12 o'clock at night at the time, like back in the day when I would actually yell really loudly playing video games. Fair enough, it'd piss the whole house off, especially on a weekday. Now, like, I look back on it, I think that's quite selfish. I was streaming at like midnight and still yelling, playing Fall Guys and shit like that. And my sisters had school the next day, so that understandably would annoy them, and I would have stopped. But it's 8 o'clock. She doesn't have school. She doesn't have work in the morning. She hasn't got uni at the moment. What could possibly be pissing her off so much with me making a bit of noise? Like, I feel like it's a little bit unfair on me, personally. But she wouldn't tell me. She just doesn't talk to me a lot of the time. And she wants her own time for herself. And I know she doesn't listen to these, so I don't give a fuck about worrying if she watches or whatever. But I just find it a bit odd. Like, she gets really angry, makes me, it's like, whenever I do randomly move location on streams, that's because of her and only her. Like, no one else cares, but she has a big fit about it, and it's annoying. Yesterday I picked her up from work, and straight away she turned the radio off without anything. Like, she didn't ask to be, oh, can I turn it off? I don't want it on, whatever it is. She just turned it off and talked to me for the rest of the car ride back. I'm like, mate, what the fuck? I'm the one driving. It's my car. Should be my control of the radio, the songs and all that. And I was listening to a good song at the time. So fuck you. Like, you wouldn't do that to an Uber driver. You wouldn't do that to your friend. She wouldn't have done that. I bet 100% guarantee she wouldn't have done that if she had a friend pick her up. But I don't think she's currently, she's not too fond of me right now, it seems. But we'll find out what happens later tonight, because I will be streaming, and I'm not moving location. Fuck that. I've already got enough to do this, or today. I'm not going to have to move all of my stuff to another room, because I've got quite a bit to move. It was actually a pain to do it on Brownlow night. It might have something to do with the fact that she gets up at 5 o'clock every morning, and I still don't fucking know why. She doesn't need to do that. Yeah, okay, I don't need to sleep until 11 or 12, but she doesn't need to get up at 5 in the morning when she hasn't got work 5 in the morning. She hasn't got work a lot of the time that early, but it's just her routine now. So because she gets up so early, out of choice, after like 8 o'clock, is like fucking, whole different story. Let's move on now to another part. This is sort of more of what I was talking about in the first podcast episode when I filmed it last week and then screwed up. But on Tuesday night, Druzy dropped a podcast with UCAT, and they had a yarn for an hour. Now, I really enjoyed that. I actually resonated a lot with what they were talking about, because I kind of do see myself in them a bit. And it was quite inspiring, to be honest. It actually inspired me to get out of bed at like 2 in the morning and plan the chat with Cardy at the time when I should have just gone to sleep. I do wonder if any of them have ever watched the chat with Cardy. I don't think they do, and I don't blame them, I guess, because I don't watch every podcast there is out there. Let's be honest with you. Unless I find it like enticing. If there's something that I find quite interesting about it, I might click on it. I do wonder if any other content creators watch this as well. Because the reason I say this is because I want to do more of these with guests in the future, and it'd be nice to know if any of them know at least what Chat with Cardy is. We're talking content creators in the industry. I don't think a lot of them may know about it, but I don't think a lot of them watch it or ever really listen. And I don't think this will ever become mainstream. Let's just say if plans in the future for this podcast, this won't ever be mainstream enough to where it's its own separate thing, where anyone's going to go and walk on the street and know me as the guy from Chat with Cardy. I actually wonder if that'll ever happen. Even 3 years down the road, I'm walking down the street and a guy comes up to me and says, "Hey, I know you from Chat with Cardy," and only from that would actually make me fucking year. I could retire if that happens. But we know that will never happen. And it will never happen with the current status of the Chat with Cardy, because I still don't treat it massively seriously, given last week's just skipped of an episode. I do want to get more guest appearances because I think there'll be more interesting stories and all that. I'll talk more about what sort of stopped me from trying to reach out to get guests, because I still feel a bit anxious when it comes to that. I also was thinking of maybe doing a little Instagram page. Now, I don't think I'll actually end up ever doing this, but a little Instagram page where I post clips of some highlights of these Chat with Cardys, anything that's interesting that could fit onto that. Even if there's only 100 followers on an account, it's still sort of something. It's something to build on. And a lot of the a lot of people are starting up podcasts nowadays. And I know this still isn't really a podcast, but I guess it kind of is. I mean, it is. People still do. There are people that do solo podcasts, actually. Now that I think about it. So maybe it is considered that, but I don't know. But it's a summer possibility. I probably don't know if I'll ever end up doing it. I have spoken about this before. Those that want to know why the fuck I started this, the origin started in 2018. 2018, I do rants on my phone. I just film on my phone me ranting about a topic for 10-15 minutes, and then I just put it into my mates group chat for the fun of it. No other reason but to just see what they would say, anxiously hoping they weren't going to abuse me for thinking it's dumb. Some thought it was dumb. Over time, I did more and more, and it got sort of boring and old, but they actually thought it was pretty funny, and they were keep doing more. So that stemmed the idea from the time. But the first time I actually did shit similar to this was actually in 2008. 2008, I started a TV show. Well, I didn't, mate. I was 5 years old, but I started one in my mind. It was called Imaginary Friends, a bit of a play on words because, imaginary, that it wasn't real. And I knew that they weren't real, but a lot of people, for whatever reason, when I told them about it, thought I still believed in imaginary friends, thought they were fucking real. I'm like, no, mate, I don't think they're real. I'm not that dumb. I know they're fake, but I just do it because at the time, I thought it was cool to make up a TV show, and I make a TV show about anything. So the characters could be anyone and anyone, everyone and anyone. It could be my third grade teacher, or it could be Gary Ablett Jr. They could both involve themselves in an episode. It was whatever I thought of on the day, and I do remember starting in prep. And I remember if I had fuck all to do, especially when I was really young, I would sometimes just spend lunchtime doing an episode. But I probably didn't. Hopefully I wasn't really doing that out loud. I can't remember if I was or not, but if I was speaking out loud about episodes of Gary Ablett Jr. and my classmate Peter on the playground, that'd be a bit weird, right? Especially at the time when kids just aren't afraid to say what they want. That would be fucking weird. So I hope that I was doing it in my mind, but I definitely remember doing it for a lot of primary school. And I remember I recorded a bunch of episodes, but I fucking lost the iPod Touch. That would have been quite interesting, because I do remember one episode, I looked back on it before I lost it, and the Queen Elizabeth bloody crashed into T2. That, that's tea shop. That was the whole premise of the episode. So it was very random. Probably was what stemmed me doing these, just talking to myself. It's probably why I kind of enjoyed streaming in a way, because it is just talking about shit, which that is pretty much what it was. And as a kid as well, I would always play footy in the house and commentate myself kicking goals. I would have my own, I'd be my own player, and I'd just call myself my name, and I'd be the best player in the league. I'd be good at any position, good in the forward line. I'd kick an average of 7 or 8 goals a game. Every single game I'd take mark of the year. Every single game I'd try and kick goal of the year, and apparently I never won a game without scoring a goal. I'd have these situations in my mind where it'd be like 7 seconds to go in a game, and I run it from full back and kick a goal to keep my streak alive. That shit is what I would do throughout primary school and maybe early high school, which is a little bit sad, but it's whatever. So I don't think that's too abnormal. Like, people would have done that a lot of the time as a kid, like, you know, pretending they're kicking a guy off the siren. I do it in the house though, because we had an area in our old house. In the newer house, there wasn't really a spot for it. And in this current house, I mean, it's just, I wouldn't kick the soft footy around for 2 hours as a 22-year-old. But when I'm like 9 or 10, that's a little bit more forgivable. And yeah, I'd have games where I'd play for like 2 or 3 hours and I'd film it. And I'd download fake scoreboards, and it'd actually be really fun. Now, obviously, I choose what happens in games. I choose who has the footy. I choose who has shots on goal. But like, I could miss a goal, and I just decide, all right, the next team's going to go for it. I do upset games. I had a series when I was a kid where it'd be every letter was a team, and that team would consist of people only using that letter as their first name. So, for example, B's v C's. So I'd have like Barbie, Bart. Anyone that starts with the letter B is in that team, and anyone that starts with the letter C is in that team. So kind of like maybe, let's say, the Premier League. The more common letters were the sides that would always be up on top of the ladder. So the more common letters, like the rich clubs, like the Chelseas, the Arsenals, the Liverpools, all that. And then the shitty teams will always be like X's, Q's, Y's, and I'd always have the same names kicking goals. Like Queen Elizabeth, I'd consider Q just because of Queen and shit like that. I remember Quinton Lynch would play, like, because I could still have real AFL players in the team because it's fucking fake. But this is actually taking me back to the bit of a blast in the past. But anyone with a similar story themselves, let me know in the comments or in the Premiere chat, because yeah, it was fun back as a kid doing that all. And you know, the P's would always win grand finals because I'd have me kicking 15 goals a game because I just make them fucking do it. I knew I wasn't really good at footy in real life. I was alright, but I wasn't as good as I made it out to be in those games. And I still do it now to an extent, in terms of like, if I'm preparing for a YouTube video, I've got a script written out and I'm just like setting up. I would talk for 5-10 minutes and just prepare what I'm going to say. It helps actually relieves a bit of stress and gives me a little bit of clarity of what I'm going to do. So I don't think that's abnormal. I think people do that. I'd hope people do that. I don't see it any differently as currently what I'm doing right now, because I'm talking to myself, right? No one is listening at the moment. YouTubers talk to themselves when making content, and I just talk to myself to prepare what I'm going to say. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, people do it for school in oral presentations, you know, unless you didn't prepare for your oral presentations, but you normally like practice with your cue cards. So yeah, I do that, and I get my sisters giving me weird looks saying, "Why the fuck are you talking to yourself?" I'm like, mate, when you did your oral presentation 3 years ago and you were practicing for 4 hours up at night cue carding, I wasn't telling you who the fuck were you talking to, you prick. Oh, rightio. So back on the podcast talk, I'm going to have this one as a bit of a longer episode to make up for my fuck up last week. With guests, right? So I don't know what guest to get on. I will get Andy Munro on very soon. He seems down for that. He watches and listens, so he understands what this is. And Henchy was another person that I actually wanted to get back on as well, because I know he listens. But I am fearful of bringing in names that don't have a fucking clue what the potty is about. Maybe because they probably don't know what to expect, and I just don't think they'll know what is to expect either. Because I still don't rate myself when it comes to the podcasting skills. I don't think I have the skills to host a potty and give it the proper structure and flow and know what questions to ask the right questions. I think if I do start, I'll get better over time, and it's just sort of a practice makes perfect sort of thing. But I remember when I first started appearing on podcasts, so like very first time people actually thought, man, Cardman22 is a guy that I'd want on my podcast. The very first time anyone thought that was a good idea for their content, and I started appearing on them, I was petrified. I remember like the True Footy podcast was one of the early ones I got onto, and I was actually really petrified because I looked up to him, and I listened to a lot of his other content creator podcasts, and I'm like, fuck, because sometimes you listen to them and you see the way others answer the questions, and I go, geez, that's very philosophical and He knows what he speaks well with his words. And then you got me. I just don't see myself in that sense, or at least I didn't. And I would actually be really afraid to know, like when I'm appearing on it, shit, I don't want to like screw up and ask or answer a question wrong, or not know how to answer a question, especially if it's an easy question, like a really easy question I got asked. Like, I don't know, I can't think of one on the spot, but I get asked the question and I'm like taking time to process what the fuck I'm going to answer. I remember a couple of years ago, I got asked to be a guest for someone's uni assignment. It was like, it had to do with like media, AFL and the media, and like the new forms of media and all that, and like how people react, like people in the media react. And I was considered someone in the media, even though I wasn't really. And bloody, I know Damien Barrett was there, and he obviously has been in the media for ages, so he understood the assignment. I didn't really know what to expect. I dressed like a fuckwit because I just thought it was like a one-on-one little chat, but it was like literally I was talking in front of like a room of 25, 30. There was a whole lecture there, and I really hope the recording's still not somewhere, but it probably is in like the uni room somewhere. But man, I bombed that massively because I just had stage fright. I didn't feel like I should have been there in the first place because it was me and him and an Olympian. I don't know who, but it was an Olympian, a relatively known Olympian. And it was someone who is 2 years out of high school, still fucking living with his parents, bit of a loser, I would have thought, compared to the other two. And like whenever I'd get asked a question, or I felt like I needed to answer something because like they were answering all the questions really well, I just didn't know that, I didn't understand the topic well enough. And I know they talked about what we were going to say when I got asked to do it. And I'm like, okay, but I didn't really think of it much. I didn't want to treat it as a homework assignment, so I just didn't think it'd be that big of a worry. I'm like, I'll just rock up and they'll let me know what it was about. I was on the spot big time, and I remember the amount of times I've ummed and ahed and just made up shit on the spot. It was quite embarrassing at the time, but I just tried to like move on from it, I guess. It was like, fuck me. I butchered everything that I wanted to say. There are words that I wanted, like the words that I'm trying to say don't come out of my mind when I'm in that worrying situation, like when I'm just all petrified, stage fright. And it can feel like really overwhelming. So I definitely fucked that up. And that's something that I only just remembered the other day. Also last week so people are actually getting me on for their own uni assignments. I reckon I've done at least 4 or 5 things, whether it's an interview or a podcast or actually I had once, it might have been Footy A2Z. They came to my house to film a fucking documentary about my day-to-day life. And that was still back when I didn't have a bed. So I had to make up an excuse into why I don't have a fucking bed. I was like, oh yeah, I'm currently in the process of getting a new bed frame from IKEA. When I wasn't in the process, I was a lazy twat. But I had to make up a new excuse every single time someone came to my house and saw my fucking mattress on the floor. And then when they came in for a second and third time, then that's when I started panicking a little bit because I couldn't really make up the same excuse. Like, it doesn't take 3 months for a bed frame to get to your house. I don't live in Siberia. I did a thing last week with someone. It was an interesting topic, really, really interesting topic that I found quite interesting. But I thought at times I didn't answer questions right. And I thought, like, I was hoping that I didn't provide nothing according to them. They did keep clarifying and telling me, oh, don't worry, you've done a really good job. But I thought deep down in my mind that comparing maybe some of the other guests that person got on, that I was the worst one. I provided the least amount of insightful information. And it's awkward when, you get asked a question that you don't know how to answer, and you ask to have that question repeated, but when they repeat it and you're still trying to process how the fuck to answer it and you don't know how, that's even worse, because would you ask again? Do you and ah for a little bit? Or do you make shit up? And it's like, you just have to make shit up and hope that they don't think you're an idiot for that. So I do feel like a big idiot at times, and that's probably why I do get a little bit awkward when it comes to like interviews and podcasts, especially if it's someone I don't know. For the first time, I don't want it to be a serious chat, because then that just really like it worries me a little bit. So if it was like, I don't know, like treat it more of a conversation, more of a just like a sit down chill chat, that definitely clears my nerves a little bit when it comes to that. Because I wish I could say what I wanted to say all the time,
but sometimes I do find it hard to articulate. And you could probably tell with these as well. Like in streams, I'd probably say stupid shit that doesn't make sense. I don't mean to do it. I sometimes mean to do it as a bit of a joke, but not all the time. So yeah, I guess it'd be nice to just constantly enhance my vocabulary and get better with all that stuff. Because I do want to speak well. If I want to get into something in the industry, then to do so, getting into the space and feeling more confident in my ability, that'd be great. Now, what's the time? All right, we've 15 minutes in. I'm going to keep going for a little bit. Haven't stopped yet, which is good. Normally I make a mistake or two with these. Last 2 weeks, so I said before that I've been really getting up to fuck all, and that's true. I haven't really done much over the weekends. Pretty much just stayed at home, running errands, going shopping, boring shit. I was going to go to the AFLW last week, the prelim. Was it the prelim? The semi-final? There was a double header, but I wanted to do a bit of editing for the stadium video, and then I was thinking, do I go to the other game afterwards? But then I just thought to myself, I didn't really want to, I couldn't really justify spending a longer amount of time traveling there and back and actually being at the game, especially for a neutral women's game. For AFL, it's a bit different because, you might think, well, why the fuck did you justify going to Bunbury for North West Coast and you missed the game? That's very different. There was people knew the what I was trying to do at the time, trying to go to all the grounds, and I made it quite clear. People made it quite known. There was a reason to it. It was the AFL season, all of that shit. This was an AFLW game, which unfortunately it just is the case. There is very, very little interest for the AFL women's compared to the AFL when it comes to just overall and in my audience and fan base. Not that I have anything against the AFLW. I might go to the grand final in a week. It's next week, right? North will win, but I might go regardless. But yeah, I just didn't justify it, especially given there was really no one to go with. So I was just going to go there by myself. And I find that so shit. I went to the St Kilda Bulldogs game and I was literally not sure where anyone was that I knew until I found someone. Then it got all right. But I don't really like going to the footy by myself unless it's an AFL game and I have to go. Then that's all right. I went to the Saints v Melbourne game in Alice Springs by myself and I actually enjoyed it. And a lot of the time there are people there that do know me that I can stick around with if I have to. But even 3 years ago for AFLW games, I went to quite a few neutral games just because it was sort of something to do. There was nothing to do in the November-October period, and you'd always have the Lockie Millers. But a lot of people in the community would actually have not as much going on with their life at the time. They were still in school, a lot of them, and they would justify traveling to the AFLW more than they would now. So it is a bit shitter now. People are more busy with their life. People are working. It sucks more with content as well because you can't do as many collabs with those sort of people. But I remember back in the day, there'd be every other week people would be going to AFL women's games when there was just because we wanted to crave of footy content, crave of going to the footy. 2022, I begged outside of Vic Park for a freaking women's Dogs v Collingwood ticket. I would never do that again, even if you paid me to. So it's a very different time now, and no one would have rocked up that I would have known. And I didn't want to feel butting in, right? You know what I mean? I'd have to go with someone to make it worth it. So if I go to the AFLW Grand Final, I wouldn't go by myself. That's all I'm going to say. Because I just don't see the point. I'd rather just watch it at home. Now, even going out on weekends as well. Friday nights, a lot of my Friday nights have been spent just at home. And that's fine for me. I don't really see a problem with that. I'd almost find it more worthwhile going to the gym on a Friday night. Which I've done before, actually. I've done more than I have going out, to a friend's house, to a bar, out to the city. I feel like people do that every week, and I just don't really see the need to, personally. Maybe it's because my mates don't do it that often, or they don't need to invite me all the time, or I don't get invited for that shit. But I don't see the need. I only really go out on, occasions. And when I do, that's the only time I drink. People who drink by themselves, I do feel a little bit bad for, because I don't really think there's any need to do that. But that's sort of when it gets to the stage where it might become a problem if you're just relying on alcohol to keep you going through a day. Because the alcoholic people who drink every single day, and it fucks families up. It's really bad. But yeah, I maybe drink once a month, twice a month, depending on it depends on the month. Some months I probably drink more. I'd probably say maybe 3 times a month, because if we're going to do averages, for the whole year, it could almost be once a week, because there'd be times where I'd be doing like 5 or 6 day benders, but only because I'm like with my mates and we're going camping, and like camping is like fucking every night you can just do that, or BTV. So that would up the averages, but I'd say on average, like over the last 2 months, I've probably drunk twice a month. October, November, certainly. In fact, October and November, I've only done it like twice. So there's that. And the last time was Melbourne Cup time, so that would have been early November, and I was looking forward to having quite a lot, because it was sort of the first time in like a whole month where I've had any drinks, and that was a good fun time. But well, I just feel like with the Melbourne Cup, it's synonymous for only one thing, in my opinion. That like when I hear Melbourne Cup, I just think of gambling straight away. I think that's just all people do on Melbourne Cup Day. They talk about how much they won or lost, normally lost, and that's the day wrapped up in a nutshell. It's a gambler's dream. It's a punter's dream. It's Sportsbet's Christmas Day. I actually wonder if that is Sportsbet's Christmas Day, or if it's like Grand Final Day or State of Origin Day or NRL Grand Final. I don't know what they make most money in, like what day, but they'd be up there for sure, because I always put a few bets on, knowing that I will lose, and I do lose all the time. But I've always like thought to myself, I've always had this ideology that I'll never promote gambling on the channel. So if a betting company comes out and, because we all know gambling and betting companies and all that shit, like there's this rain bet and stake that a lot of these big creators are promoting. There's a lot of money in that, and they do like to dish out and give away lots of money with all these sponsorships. But I don't know if I'll ever do it, given just my morals, and I just don't think it's a right thing to do, to be promoting gambling, because it's really bad. It can be really bad, and I don't really do it that much. And I do have a young audience as well. I have obviously on other platforms a bit more of an older, mature audience that probably do gamble a lot. But like on YouTube, I would never like fucking, like for example, a footy card video. I don't think I would ever, and I wouldn't probably for any other video, but certainly not for like a team coach video. Like first day of the new team coach cards, and I'm out here promoting Ladbrokes' new 3-day multi-streak deal, or whatever the fuck it is. I might be getting a bag for it, but I'd rather get my bag in other ways. Like I'd rather earn my money in more moral ways. Now, let's say Sportsbet came out, because Sportsbet probably the only like sports betting app I use, and that's probably the most popular one. I mean, the AFL is sponsored by them. If they went up to me and were like, they won't ever do this, but if they were like, let's do something really cool, a fun video where it isn't really even promoting Sportsbet, it's more just like, you know how Sportsbet do those series like the Grubs and shit like that, a funny video, they pay me $20K to do that, I would genuinely probably do it. And I know it's sort of hypocritical a little bit, like, oh, you know, it goes against what you're saying, but like $20,000 I could do with that at the moment, especially like that. And if I told people I backed that down, they would all think I'm the biggest dickhead probably for doing that. Some would be like, oh, well done for sticking with your guns and all that. But if I did get something massive like that from them for like one video, like that'd be a little bit different. But I would like to know what people would think when it comes to that. But I just feel like this day and age, people are getting into gambling really young. Like I started 18, so when I was old enough to, like people should, but lots of people are starting early, like but like 15, 16, like a good chunk of my mates, lots of people in the community are. It's becoming normalized, and I don't think that's good, because yeah, a lot of people ruin their lives over gambling. It's a common day thing. Like you see it all the time. People do ruin their lives over gambling, and having these people become dependent on it so young is not a great thing. There are names I want to throw out that you guys might know of as well that I'm not. Just there's no need to. But I start worrying for them a little bit when they're pretty much putting all of their money that they can like afford to put away to gambling, and a lot of time losing and having to hope to win it back to stay just to stay surviving in a way, I guess, if that's how to describe it. Yeah, like I know people who just do it way too often, like every other day. Like that's their livelihood, which is fucking not good. Like it really isn't. The only times I ever do it is if I'm with mates, like generally if I'm with mates and one puts a bet on like a $5 multi on a footy game, I'm like, you know what? It doesn't hurt, because the way I see it, if you're prepared to lose $5, that's fine. if that's money you're prepared to lose, I don't see it as a massive issue. And I can almost see it in a similar way to like as a kid when you went to like the arcade or a claw machine and you put $5 into one of those. There's a good chance that you're losing that $5 and you're putting $5 into nothing, but it's the thrill and it's the sort of experience, I guess. Because you could almost, in a way, say, like, let's say you're going to the, I don't know, Movie World. All right, Movie World's a bad example. Movie World's a really fucking bad example. But if you put, how much is the ticket to Movie World? I don't know, it's probably like a lot now, but let's say $150, which is a lot, but $150 into Movie World. You are paying for, I mean, you're not paying because you are getting the thrill of the rides. You're knowing what you're getting before you go into that. No one is putting $150 into like the horses and wanting to not win. Because you're realistically getting nothing. You're getting that same thrill regardless if you win or not of hoping to win watching that race. So that's a bad example. But I guess it's a little bit kind of like arcade games in a way. It's you're sort of paying for that experience, the $20. You're like accepting that you could lose and you might not win anything in the claw machines or whatever it is. That probably is a bit more of a better example, I guess. But again, like $20, it's like, it's whatever. How much does $20 get you? At the Melbourne show, like one ride. So it's not too bad when you look at it that way if you do it in moderation. And I don't even put $20 very often anyway. I'd only do it for like the races at the Melbourne Cup, and that's about it. It is normally just like $5 or $10. But again, I only gamble occasionally, or if the game that I know that I'm watching will be shit, and maybe the last quarter there's just nothing in it, I might then have something to cheer for. But that's all it is. And I hate the people that abuse players after games because their multis didn't get up. No one cares. No one cares that you're a gambling fuckwit that is that far down, like you've come that far down in your life that you've got to now result in abusing the players because of your mistake. They didn't make you fucking bet on themselves to get 15 disposals. They didn't force anyone to do anything, but it's because you're fucking a degenerate and you come to that decision to do that. And not only you've done that, you've had to abuse players. Like, that's fucked. That's not great. People that do that are really, they're not great people at all. They're scums. I also think when people gamble, they never are satisfied. Like, genuinely problematic gamblers are never satisfied. They may win massively, but if they win massively, they're normally going to just try to keep winning more. At the pokies, you see quite a bit. And then they end up actually losing everything. And I'm like, what the fuck? If I won a lot, I probably would have put most of it away and then maybe put another $20, $50 in, depending on how much I won, so I can still be there for a bit longer. And if I lose it, well, I still end up winning. That's what I did at the casino when I've only been to the casino 3 times because I feel like you just blow a lot more of your money at the casino, and it is sort of fun, but it's like, man, I'm not affording to do that all the time. Fuck that. As again, like I just normally lose, and it's just not worth just wasting your money when I haven't got heaps at the moment anyways. And again, it's worse as well when people lose and they need to chase their losses. Chasing your losses is a big problem. And that leads to like the breakup of families and shit like that when you're asking for money. Shit like that happens, and it's just not, it's pretty sad. So it's not great that the AFL advertise sports betting as much as they do. I don't think it's a good thing. But I just think there's too much money into it that they can't refuse. And that's all they really care about, the money. They don't really give a shit about the actual people. They might say at the end of the advertisements, oh, gamble responsibly, whatever it is, call this number on the screen. But they're only doing it because they're forced to by the government. They don't. If they had the option to do it or not, they wouldn't do it, because I know if they didn't do it, they'd probably make more money and it wouldn't have overall any much of an effect. People are still going to choose to use those services, even if you've got all these warnings on the screen. Same with like smoking. People still smoke, but they know it's wrong. Gambling's not as bad. Like it is like a nice pastime hobby. I get that, but in moderation, right? So I have had people ask me for money for gambling, and they have paid me back for it. But I think I'm going to stop doing that. Just to tell them, look, if you're in a situation where you are genuinely that far down that you are asking people for money to gamble, why would I fucking do? You should never ask people for money to gamble, because you're probably not going to win. And even if you do win, you're eventually going to lose it all again because you're going to just keep fucking doing it, thinking that you won. That's why a lot of people actually get into a problem of gambling, because they actually win early and they think, maybe this is how I'm going to be making my money. They think it's easy, and it's not. So we're going to just stop it at that. Let's move on to the footy talk. We're already an hour and 5 in. Jeez, well, probably not exactly an hour and 5, but let's talk about all the new rules. Now, from the last time I tried to record this to now, they have announced the fixture, and you probably would have already seen my fixture reactions and all of that. I did a few Instagram posts, which have actually done okay. Sort of revived my Instagram in the off season. It's hard not to, like, it's still really hard to know what to post in this period when cricket still hasn't started yet. I'll probably do some cricket stuff, that always does well. But yeah, the fixture, I'm pretty happy with it as a St Kilda fan. The only downside with it is, I guess, that we haven't got as many primetime games as I probably wanted. But it's almost a good thing, because primetime footy, especially on a Thursday night, it does lead to a bit of a downgrade in the crowd a little bit. Like, people tend to not go as much because it's a Thursday night, it's a work night, school night, and people get home late, so they choose to, maybe it's better just to watch on TV. So you would get probably better crowds on a Friday or Saturday night than a Thursday night. So I guess that's one positive. And if the Saints do have a really good start to the year, and we're playing really exciting footy, they'll probably reward us with more. That's how that rolling fixture works. That's why I like the rolling fixture, but I still would prefer that to just not be a thing. I mean, it's not a thing in most other sporting leagues, so and it used to be not a thing as well, but it only started becoming a thing because of COVID, and it just stuck. Because it makes it a lot difficult for people that want to plan around the season and fixture and knowing what games they want to travel to and all that. I've always liked the idea of having the last round, though, TBA. You don't want to know the time slots for those games until the very end. I like that, and it makes sense because it's the last round and you want it to be exciting. But yeah, overall, the fixture isn't bad. As a St Kilda fan, we'll just talk more about it on a St Kilda fan point of view. Fan of it because we don't leave Melbourne from like round 13 or 14 onwards. We stay in Victoria for the last 10 games. We do get a pretty difficult start, to be honest with you, but our double ups aren't not bad. We get an extra game at the MCG, and I'm pretty pumped for the year. I actually am quite optimistic that we'll make a finals push and play in the finals, but hopefully not wildcard round. Hopefully we get the top 6. Now I will talk about wildcard round as well. Andy Munro had, I think, a video that he put out talking about the new rules, I think early last week. And I'm going to go on the base of what he said with his rules, like with the rules that he mentioned. There might be more. I don't know. The first one's the removal of the bounce. Now, this is one that a lot of traditionalists aren't a fan of, like, removing the bounce. What's the point? I get that. I would have liked it if they maybe just kept the bounce at the start of every quarter, or at least the very start of every game, because I think it's an iconic symbol of the game that we're just sort of taking away from. Now, it is annoying and frustrating when the fucking umpire screws up the first bounce, especially start of the game. It's sort of like very deflating. It sort of just like ruins the momentum of the game at the start, and it takes a couple of seconds away from the clock. I think the main reason they did remove it was to help with the overall health and safety of the umpires, sort of to like alleviate less of the stress that they have to worry about having to bounce the ball, which I don't like. It's been a thing for so long that I don't really think it needs to be a worry now, personally. And I think it's like a pretty required skill if you're an umpire, that you should know how to do that, because some of the best umpires in the game really make a mistake. But maybe it'll help, because I think at the moment there might be a bit of umpire scarcity. So possibly by removing the bounce, it could lead to a little bit more umpire numbers. Hopefully, I guess that's obviously not a bad thing, because at the moment it doesn't seem like there isn't much of a demand for being an umpire because of the abuse they get. So I don't really care for this one, but again, I would have liked to have seen it stick. But just start the game with it and then fuck off with the bounce. It doesn't really matter. There's another rule that they've brought in, which is quite a significant change, actually. One of the bigger ones, to be honest. And this is the removal of it's the last touch rule. That's what it is. So it's between the arcs. So from the 50 lines onwards, so inside the 50-meter lines, it's fair game. It's what it was before. But in the center of the field, so between the arcs, that's probably a better way of pointing it out, it is last touch rule. So last kick, last handball. I don't think it. So a spoil over the line, I think, is okay, but it just helps again with the umpires, just alleviate a little bit of stress having to make these decisions on deliberate as well, and you don't have to worry about of decisions being deliberate or not, as long as that player is to touch the ball last, and it's going to be deliberate or it's going to be a free kick to the other team anyways, which will help speed up the flow of the game. I think that's also why they've got rid of the bounce, because again, sometimes you have to restart because of a shitty bounce. It helps with the flow of the game a little bit better. So once again, I think this is an all right rule change. It doesn't really affect the game at all that much. I don't think it is. I mean, they have it in the sandful and apparently it works quite well, and in the AFLW, I believe, as well. So hopefully it just makes for a better product, free-flowing, more skillful. Another one that I thought was like pretty bizarre that they put it in. I didn't think they were going to do it, but one that I now actually am quite fond of, and I think it'll be okay. Now, another thing that was mentioned, this isn't a rule change. It's just the buys in general. Shithouse. Like, just shit. Just too many. Like, opening rounds, because of opening round, and I'll talk about how shit that is, but because of opening round, we have extra buys, but we still have more buys than we've ever had even without it in the middle of the season. We have like 5 buys. It used to only be 3. Actually, no, it used to only be 1. I think back in the day, there might have been a week off, and that was when they did the State of Origin game. And then they used to do split rounds, which I think still works quite well. I actually think bring the fucking split rounds back. What a split round was in the middle of the year, you'd have one batch of maybe 5 games and another batch of 4 games. Yes, you'd have a bit of less footy on each weekend, and a lot of people do want to see like 9 games every week, but that's better than having every week for 5 weeks with only 6 or 7 games, or 7 and 8, as opposed to 1 week with 4 games and 1 week with 5 games. I just think it ruins the momentum of the league and the interest and all that. The interest of the league and all that seems to just start slipping and dipping as it comes to the bye week. There's just too many bye weeks, and it fucking that's when you know the mid-season depression starts sort of hitting, because at that stage in the season as well, they schedule the worst fixtures. We saw it last year, or still this year. The middle of the year was really difficult to get through. The games were really bad, boring, bad matchups, always games between the top 8, between the bottom 10. And there were very few upsets, very few close games, and it was during the bye times as well. So for me, the bye rounds are synonymous for just boring matchups in the middle of the season. And the AFL I can't remember what the fixtures are for those rounds, but they better not be so lopsided. They have to put in some decent games. You can't just have all the great games at the start of the year. It's got to be spread out a little bit more. And we'll talk with the buys for opening round. It just is shit for also fantasy and Supercoach, those that do that, because you're pretty much eliminating any players that played in the first round of opening round to be put in your team. And it's just a whole mess in the middle of rounds as well, because the players that you have playing that are going to be in a bye for 2 weeks, you got to plan ahead around. It's a nightmare. If you had a split round, like I mentioned before, that still counts for 1 round, so you don't have to worry. You wouldn't have to worry at all. But opening round, like, you know, you have those extra buys. So you have some teams that have 2 buys before. Well, not really. Yeah, some teams would actually have 2 buys before others have their first. You shouldn't be having the start of the season, round 1, and then a bye. What's the point? It's a waste, because you've already had a bye before anyways, like for like 25 weeks. There's no point in having a bye so early. I just think it's shitty, and it fucks with the ladder until midway through the season as well, and it's stuffed to the ladder all year because of the cyclone. So buys piss everyone off. They piss me off. They piss you off. They piss your sister off. They piss their dog off. Buys need to go. Bring back the split round, or as someone mentioned, I think as well, have a 1 week off where that can be State of Origin instead of having it fucking February in Perth where it's going to be 30 degrees, or have that week the week where you just prioritize like local footy to try and get interest in the local footy leagues a little bit more. Possibly that could be a good idea. Have 1 week off in the middle of the season where it's still like footy season, but like, you know, maybe local footy can get a little bit more of a bit more attention. Or that could be when the start of the AFLW is mid-season, so you can have a longer AFL women's season instead of having to start it so fucking late. That could genuinely be a very good idea. I don't think it's that bad of an idea of having the season alongside the men's season for a little bit because it gets, less attention probably on its own, the AFLW, but at least it gets played a little bit longer. The players want longer seasons. They want to play in the winter. So there you go. Fucking hire me as CEO. Fuck off, Andrew Dillon. Wildcard week, let's talk about that. I know it's only been around for a week and a bit, but I'm starting to slowly come to terms with it. I'm like, all right, well, now I know it's a thing. And fans do not like change. Remember I say last year, still it's this year. Remember when the scoreboards were changed for 2025 and everyone was like flipping their shit over it? Like they thought it was like the worst thing they've ever seen. They thought the scoreboards were like, going to ruin the game. And it's like, mate, even when I saw them, I didn't think they were that bad. And now that they've been around for a year, no one's really complaining about the scoreboards anymore. They're just a bit more centralized, I believe. But that's it. There's no fucking... I actually forgot the Fox Footy one, what that looked like. No, I didn't like the Fox Footy one, actually, as much as the Channel 7 one. I did think the Fox Footy one was a bit too big, but I'm almost certain they made them smaller throughout the season. But, like, people just fucking hate change. Everyone's like, there was nothing wrong with the old one. Yeah, but you can't keep the same scoreboard, like, for forever. Change needs to happen. We had that old Channel 7 one for a few years. I actually didn't like how when they first introduced scoreboards, having goals and behinds, but now I like it more because you kind of know how the flow of the game's been a little bit more when you see that, because you can tell, all right, this team has had so many more scoring shots but could still be behind. And it makes a bit more sense because of footy. It's kind of important knowing the goals and behinds. But back in the day, it would only just be the scoreboard, but like the team score. But, the old scoreboards, yes, they were classic and iconic, like the ones in the 2010s and shit, the early 2010s or late 2000s. But compared to the ones now, I think the ones now are a lot better. And it makes sense to have the scoreboard in the middle because social media's become massive ever since. And just clipping up the games, you can see the scores in the middle a lot easier than if you had it on the left bottom corner. So even though the scoreboards have nothing to do with what I should be talking about, I think people might come to terms with Wildcard Week a little bit more, but I can understand the frustration and why it was a bit irrelevant to do right now. I always thought it was going to eventuate when 20 teams came, or maybe 19 when Tassie came in. Having it now seems a bit too early, but hopefully it doesn't backfire and the AFL actually make it work. The one thing I hate about it most, to be honest, is the fact that it counts towards finals. It should be its own thing. It shouldn't be called Wildcard Week or a play-in week and then still be counted as finals. So when Andrew Dillon came out and said, Essendon fans, if you win this Wildcard Week, it'll count as a finals win. Piss off. No one's going to view it that way. So I bet you if St Kilda, I bet you will fucking play in one and we'll win that and we'll lose the first week of proper finals. And whilst it technically counts a finals win, I don't think I'm going to count it really. And I think a lot of the wider fans of the AFL world won't either. 90+% of the people don't want it to be in the game. They are pissed off that it's Americanizing the league and all that. And my dad was pretty pissed off about it as well. But you see some positives. It kind of gives teams in that sort of area that are like fighting for the 8 that might not have a chance late in the year still something to play for. And it might mean that there'll be more interesting games and the later ends of the season, which is going to be true. The last few rounds should be more entertaining. But, it would have worked last year, right? Because I think Sydney and the Bulldogs... Sorry, I keep saying last year. I just keep thinking 2025 was last year. But Sydney and the Bulldogs finished 9th and 10th. But they probably deserve to be in the finals any other year because of their form and their win-loss percentage. But in other years, you'd have teams that could genuinely be like sitting 10th that only won like 10 or 11 games. It just wouldn't deserve to be there at all. And it wouldn't feel fair if a 10th place team beat a 7th place team. Let's just say, especially if that 7th place team had a couple of injuries the final round, fucked them over, made them drop to 7th. They play a team that started winning a few games late in 10th. They've got momentum. Somehow those two teams are both Melbourne-based teams. It could be Collingwood in 10th, St Kilda in 7th. We get fucked over. Collingwood play us and they beat us. That is so unfair for the 7th place team. 7th and 8th are now never going to win the flag. Not that they were really much of a chance in the first place. And it just makes the emphasis of getting top 6 so much more important. You've got to finish top 6 to have any chance. And the top 6, the 5 and 6 teams have so much more of an advantage now. So they've got the week off and the home final. 9th and 10th, they pretty much get the same benefits as 7th and 8th, really. So interesting. It's going to be very interesting. I think it rewards mediocrity so far because we only have 18 teams. More teams are going to be in the finals than aren't. And I think that's shit. I actually think Dylan is adding too much shit to the game. Andrew Dylan, that is. I think he's adding way too much shit to the game, and he wants seasons to be longer than they ever have been. As a content creator, I can see the benefits and positives because there'll be extra games. The bye week that normally does follow the before the finals won't be a thing anymore. So there'll be a couple more talking points, more games, more fun, more interesting, more eyeballs, hopefully more views. But it's almost, it almost feels like it's a bit too much. Like with the addition of State of Origin, so that's going to start at mid-Feb. Players might feel like they don't have much time now to have a break. It just feels like footy. But back in the day, I guess they did have the NAB Cup, and that started early in Feb. I would have liked them to bring back the NAB Cup over the State of Origin, if I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. However, I can understand why no one cares about the fucking NAB Cup, because it just realistically doesn't make any matter to the season, or because teams that win the NAB Cup, right, normally don't even end up making finals the last few years. I know Brisbane in 2013 didn't make the finals, and they won the NAB Cup. So it's like, to some it's important, to others it's not. But I don't know. I don't know about wildcard week yet. Some are happy about it. A lot are pissed. Opening round, I still don't like it, and I know how it's an extra game on Sunday for St Kilda Melbourne, or St Kilda Collingwood, sorry. That just defeats the purpose. Originally, I understood why they made opening round a thing, but I just think the execution was shit. Prioritise the northern leagues, the northern teams in the Queensland and New South Wales, and help grow the game there. I understood why they wanted to do that, and it actually kind of worked in the first couple of years. The Cyclone fucked everything up this year, and of course that had to be the 1 year I decided, hey, let's go to opening round and let's pick the 2 games that were in the Cyclone affected areas, and let's get fucked over by Jetstar and Virgin that won't refund my flights because of the Cyclone. So now I've got to book new flights, pay more money to go to Sydney, and don't get refunds for my tickets or accommodation. So I end up having to pay another $600, $700. But whatever, that's just my experience. But I just think it's shit. I think it's shit now, and I think you should start a season with round 1, not opening round, not 0. Round 0 just sounds dumb. It just sounds like it's a joke. Like we're just not even treating this seriously. Like round 0, fucking 1, mate. Like start with a 1. Have every team play each other once, or do a split round, or some people have said maybe have every team host a game out of Victoria. So you could have had that. Like you could have just added West Coast, Freo, Adelaide and Port, and then, throw in a St Kilda Collingwood on the Sunday. That would have worked. Maybe. I don't know. No one's a fan of opening round, are they? So, yeah, everyone's saying game's gone. The game's never really gone. If it was gone, you guys would stop watching it. It's an overused statement, in my opinion. The game's gone. But you know what? We'll throw it in there. Game is gone. Those are my thoughts and opinions on the rules and the new fixture. I have dragged this episode on for quite a bit, but I do kind of want to make up for lost time last week. By lost time, nothing. And there is some stuff that I was actually planning on talking about that I'll have to save for next week, or maybe the week after. What's happening next week, or from right now onwards, that might be of interest to some of you guys? Stadiums video, I'm really hoping that'll be finished by next chat with Cardy. Not sure though, not 100% sure given how busy I'll be this week. Huge content will be filmed over the weekend with Annie Munro and a couple of others in the Mount Gambier area, I believe. So we'll be going to various former footy grounds, or not really former, but some stadiums, some grounds, and doing some challenges, doing a live stream, doing other content as well. Maybe another video and stream, and I believe we might be doing another chat with Cardy. So there'll be another guest appearance. I've only done a handful of guest chat with Cardys in my time. So that'll be interesting as well. The content on that brand deal I talked about earlier, hopefully that'll be it might not be next week. Well, it should be next week, but it might not be before the next episode. And my laptop as well, still in the repair shop. And I've actually, I got an email yesterday from the pricks. So they want to spend 3.5 weeks
getting the laptop from my place to Sydney, which I think is ridiculous. And now they want me to fork out my own money on fixing the laptop that should have been sorted under warranty. I had warranty for 3 years, but they're telling me that a broken port isn't under the warranty. So I have to and apparently that's really fucking expensive. So they apparently have fixed the other issue than the main issue. I could technically just say, well, don't fix my broken port, but I really, really do want that fixed, because if I can fix the broken port, it frees up an extra USB port on my laptop, and it actually, mate, I've had I can't do half the stuff that I've been wanting to do on this laptop, like with connecting monitors and all that, without that port working. So, I guess we'll find out how much I'm billed with that, but that's not going to be fun. But hopefully I get that laptop back soon, maybe next week. Next week would be ideal, but you just don't know. Draft is obviously this week as well, so hopefully I can get a good stream going for that. But long episode. That's why the timestamps are there. If you don't give a shit, you don't give a shit. But I will see you guys in the next chat with Cardy, and I might try to post another members for the members, but another one of these videos on the More Cardman channel. Maybe a draft video if I have time, but I'm going to really not have a lot, because with this weekend, I'm going to spend a bit of time like setting it up and making sure it's ready earlier in advance. So it's good for the stream on the weekend. So if I don't, I don't. But we'll see what happens. But yeah, cheers for watching and listening, I should say. And let's just end this.